a prime flag bearer of excellence, a testament of talent of Indian engineers globally, a firm believer of the dictum, who pays your salary, your loyalty, dedication and teamwork. Welcome to another episode of Kansbal Radio. I am your host Anupam Ganguli. Join me in greeting our guest today, Mr Avtar Singh. Among the early graduates of the first IIT in India, IIT Kharagpur, the third batch in fact, he was selected by GHH to join the company in India. Often he used to visit the plant premises at Kansbal, initially as a customer. Later on, he was seconded by L&T to join Utmal, an enterprise in which GHH, Coppers, Foyt and L&T were stakeholders. Starting as an engineer in the 60s here, he evolved with time to emerge as a deputy general manager projects. Then he moved back to GHH in Germany to ascend the corporate echelons. Please put your hands together to applaud a person who has seen Kansbal in its formative years. Please tell us about your first arrival to Kansbal. How did things begin when you arrived? Please let us know.
You see that I was associated with Kansbal twice. In 1964, I was sent by GHH to India to execute the structural work for the blast furnace plant, and one of my responsibilities was to place orders on subcontractors for fabrication of structural work. And since I was from GHH, and GHH was a 25% partner of Utmal, we decided to give the first choice for orders to Utmal. So that's when I went to Utmal, and I think I met one, I've forgotten the name. I think it was Mr. Azulman, who was then general manager. Now, what Utmal did was to pick out the resins from the whatever it was to be fabricated, which did not fit with our schedule. So that was my first problem with Utmal, that they, being from GHH, I can understand. They thought they could have but then we managed to make a nice contract. There was no problem. The fabrication went by and large well, mostly on time, but that was because I was constantly traveling from Burkila to Kansbal and making sure that things were working. And then, of course, I could speak German, and most of the people there in senior positions were Germans, so I could handle that. So that was my first impression of meeting Kansbal as a customer. And in somewhere in the month of March 1968, when I joined, actually my joining with Larsen Tobro was like this, Mr. Gunnar Hansen, if you know the name. He came to Oberhausen. After completing the Rukila work, I went back to Oberhausen. I was working there in GHH. And Mr. Gunnar Hansen visited Oberhausen, and he asked for a meeting with me, where he said, we'd like you to join us. I said, I will not join Utmal. If I have to join, if I wish to go to join you, I will join L&T on those days. There used to be things like covenant contracts. So which he agreed. But then he said, but we would second you to Kansbal. I said, that's okay, as long as I'm an L&T employee and not Kutmal employee. Because my impression of Utmal from my earlier days was not very positive.
Yeah.
So then I came to Kanspal, and I think the day I joined, Mr. Kashyap, who was to be my superior, my boss, he was out of town, and one Mr. Baker, who was works manager, he took me around and introduced me to people. And then I slid fairly nicely into the routine of working, and fortunately I had some real good successes right in the beginning. And you must have some luck also, as well as your work. And then so that was my start with Kanspal. That was your question.
Okay. Please let us know something about your family.
What exactly? My family, my wife is a German, as I said. I had married when I was in back from India to Germany in 1967. I met my future wife, and she came over then to Kanspahal before we were married for a short period, just to see if she would like to live in India. And then we got married in Sundargarh. And then we got married, civil marriage in Sundargarh, and then of course marriage. I'm a Sikh, as per the Sikh tradition in Delhi, with my parents and relatives. And we have two daughters, Amrita and Monisha. Both were born in Gurkila in the IGH.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Your take on,
carry on.
Your take on Utmal as you saw it in your time.
In my time as an Utmal employee, I think we started, the L&T had in the meantime taken over from that. See, originally the Utmal was a sort of a mix-up, 25% Larsen Tober, 25% Foyth, 25% Coppers, and 25% Larsen Tober. In the meantime, when I joined, it was 75% Larsen Tober and management, as well as 25% Foyth. So the L&T had installed a fairly new product line system, which I think was very well made out. And we had sales divisions like sales and products, which Mr. Kashyap used to head. We had the workshop, which Mr. Baker used to head, and there was commercial, finance, Mr. Swaminathan. So I was in the sales and products, started as a project engineer. Was in about a year's time I was a project manager. In a couple of 2 years I succeeded Mr. Kashyap when he became the general manager. And then somewhere in 1975 we shifted to Calcutta, along with your father also, if I remember correctly. Then I was made a deputy general manager. So I've had a fairly quick rise in after about, in the period of 8 years I was there, I had 3 promotions.
Congratulations.
No congratulations. It's because, as I said, it's because of the hard work which we could put as a team.
Absolutely.
And maybe to some extent I also was effective in building up a team and building up loyalty and like that. After I joined came to Utmal, we stopped, or we curtailed except for paper and pulp, we curtailed the use of collaborators' drawings and engineering, replaced it slowly by our own design. So we did practically, in fact, for example, for an complete LD steel making plant, not iron making, steel making plant, which is the first one at that time made in India. I sent, when I was a project sales and products manager, I sent all the engineers to Germany who were collaborating, and they prepared the drawings in Germany, themselves, instead of asking the Germans to prepare drawings.
That's wonderful.
Most of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that we did, and we did a lot of new this thing. But our problem in Kants Mahal was that we were very expensive, more expensive than all our competitors in the country.
Yeah.
So the only way we could live was to be ahead of the competitors, always offering something new, and that is somehow we managed to do with our team, and that to that extent also, as I wrote, I brought a number of collaborators with new product lines in the company, so that we were always a step ahead of the most of the people. And in the end, I think in 1977 we made the first profit which Utmal had ever made. So because there was improvement in the fabrication work, there was improvement in the overall purchase management. I think purchase manager, I don't know who was purchase. UK Rath came afterwards. I don't know who was heading the purchase when I joined. I've forgotten. So I'm now giving you a fairly good.
Let us know about the changes you could usher in Utmal. Any changes you could bring in?
Changes in the sense, first of all, our self-reliance on engineering, which I told you. We also added a number of new products to our listing.
Okay.
So these were the changes which pertain to the my level, my range of activities.
Okay. Any persona you admired in Utmal during that time?
Well, in the engineering side, we had a young engineer called K. Ramani. He was very good.
Okay.
For example.
Yeah.
I say we had a product manager for crushing and screening, Mr. S. Soor.
Okay.
He was very good. Then we had a couple of young engineers, Biplab Sen Gupta, for example, I remember very well. Alok Sarkar, then Thomas Tharu. We fortunately selected a number of young engineers also from my own University of Kharagpur. Like that, there were a number of people. You see, it's a team which contributes.
Absolutely.
It's not a person.
Absolutely.
So somehow people work together. There was no tussle between the people. There was always a very friendly attitude. For example, Mr. U. Mathur, who was product manager, foundry and other things, he was a bit elder to me in Kants Mahal for a long time. And I felt very awkward because I became his senior. So things like that happened. Okay. It's part of life.
Okay. The next please. The township through your eyes. The
township was very well kept. I think Muralidas did it. That's fine. As I said, it was very well maintained, taken care of. Then the garage, you see, because of the distance from Kants Mahal, we were always needing some transport. The bus service, for example, costs a lot of money to the company. They said this maintenance of the fixed assets, the cost of which the company cost a lot of money. The money had to be borrowed or at least foreseen for. So the company was a big burden on the colony was a big burden on the company. But then without that colony, nobody would have joined Kants Mahal.
That's true. That's very true. Life in Kants Mahal as you perceived it. I mean,
one very positive aspect of Kants Mahal was that there were people from all over India.
Absolutely.
And so there was a very intermix. And then a whole lot of people had been to Germany during the Utmal time. The earlier, when Utmal was a collaboration with GHH and all that. And even also later on we sent people for training. But so there was a very nice atmosphere in that place. The communication between juniors and seniors was fairly free,
Yeah.
because we had all seen, many of us had spent a long time in Germany, or a year or two in Germany, so we have seen where how things were here, rather open to each other without too much formality.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere was very good.
Okay.
And no provincialism was there till in the later years of my stay there, somewhere around 1974, 73. A bit of provincialism came in, but that was not very serious. It did not affect the working of the company.
Yeah.
It only affected a bit in the atmosphere sometimes. So now I have also told you the not positive part of the.
Would you like to say something about your neighbors in the colony, like people around?
Oh, tell you frankly, I was traveling so much that I personally, the job involved a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And well, my wife, she had made good friends. For example, with Mrs. Baker, we continued to communicate till Mrs. Baker died some 5 years back.
Oh, I see.
We had neighbors like Madans who were next door to us, with whom we are still. Every time we visit India, we meet, or sometimes they come and stay here.
Yeah.
Then, for example, I had personally had great respect for P. Ramaswamy, who was in the foundry, and number of young engineers like Thomas Taru or YK. I remember because we used to have fairly lively discussions. Dinky Gupta. It was always nice to meet. Like there were many people who, but some of these occurred to me firsthand, straight away.
Okay. Any life lessons from Kanpur you would like to share with us?
The only life lesson is that the only thing which succeeds in working life is loyalty and dedication.
Yeah.
You must be honest.
Very true.
Things work out.
Very true. Your hobbies, please. I mean, of course, you're traveling.
No, I have no great hobbies. I'm glad I'm retired. I can take life easy. We were doing a lot of traveling till about 4 or 5 years back. My wife has problems with the knees and she can't walk.
Yeah.
I have some problem. I'm absolutely fine health-wise, but I had a major operation about 10 years back, or 8 years back, where with that I need to go to toilet unexpectedly sometimes. So we are restricting our traveling.
Okay.
Otherwise, well, we look after a bit about my financial interests, investments, takes here and there a small time. And then I read a lot on, for example, on Islam or in history. And of course, I read a lot of entertainment books and novels and things like that.
Okay.
So reading, history, leisure, traveling is now limited to one visit to India per year, which we couldn't do this year simply because of the corona problem.
Okay. Any concluding message you'd like to give to our audience of Kanpur?
It is the same. You do your work with loyalty and dedication.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as long as that is an end, and make sure that you are a team.
Absolutely.
If you take these three things into consideration, you will flourish and your organization will flourish.
Very true. Thank you so much for joining.
No problem.
After that revisit of the yesteryears with Kansbal Yadein, it's time to say goodbye. Stay tuned.